Okay, today we're going to be talking about the Patterson Gimlin film and Sasquatch Bigfoot, which there are thousands of names for this species just from North America alone, let alone around the world where they exist on every continent except with the likely exception of Antarctica, as well as every major archipelago. There's countless different names for them, literally countless. And here is a drawing of a Sasquatch, and the next images that you're going to see are AI. And I wanted to make a quick note of that. AI is clearly programmed to not do Sasquatch faces correctly. It always wants to make them very ape-like, and although some are reported to have more ape-like features, generally speaking, they are reported to have far more human features, and the genuine film and photo captures that we have all show much more human-like features than what we see here with these AI generated images. And that's part of the whole bamboozle, I think, but I'm not going to get into that subject here in this video. Before you assume that I'm crazy or something, you'll hear later my reasons why. There is definitely a conspiracy to keep this subject a joke in the public's mind, even though it's clearly not a joke and these creatures are real. Now we're coming up on the first images from the Patterson Gimlin footage film. Here she is, Patty. The bottom, look at the bottom of her foot. Look at her thigh flexing as she steps down onto her right foot. Look at her catcher's mitt size hands, the muscles in her tricep, her butt crack, the hair glistening on her shoulders from the oils and the sun hitting those oils. This is not a costume, people. Your eyes should be able to tell you that. I know the original film was jumpy, it jumped all over the place, it was hard to see, but now we have stabilized versions of that film, zoomed in. You can watch the different identifiable muscle groups on her flexing and moving as she walks along. Now, here are some, because this was done on film and not on modern digital, there is no pixels. The information is all there, and with our increasing technology, we can zoom in further and further on her to the point where we've zoomed in on her face and we can see wounds on her face. She also has a thigh hemorrhage that pops every time she walks, and no one has ever found any kind of zipper or indication that this could be any kind of a hoax, and it just certainly could not, for all the reasons I've already stated. Although I'm going to give you the more rock solid scientific reason that proves that this is not a person in a costume and makeup in a second. But I just wanted to give you some more images of her face and her head. Now, there have been 4 or 5 different people who've claimed to, quote, be in the suit to make this hoax. Of course, they all couldn't be telling the truth, even if it was the case that one were, but none of them are. The most commonly referenced and believed one, he is named, I don't want to give his name, his first name is Bob, and his story has changed multiple times over the years, and he couldn't take reporters to the spot where the footage was filmed. This is him right here on the right in a costume that they made. Here's some more stills of Patty, but the point is, the costume that he's in there is terrible compared to her. It doesn't even look at all biologically real, and we're going to see more images of that in a second. Here's another one, and these are costumes that they've made in more recent years, and they've cheated. They've used modern modern materials and techniques that they did not have back in 1967. Look at the breasts as well on Patty. Why would they add breasts to her if they were doing this hoax? That would make things so much infinitely more difficult for them. But look at the length of her arms, and that's where you're going to start to get an idea of where the actual proof can come from that she is not a person in a costume and makeup. These are more stills of her. Now, Bob Hieronymus was said to have passed a lie detector test. That may or may not be true, but that doesn't mean anything. Roger Patterson, who took this film, he sold stills of the film to National Wildlife Magazine, which later became National Geographic. The editor at the time made him take and pass, and he did pass several lie detector tests. So that shows that doesn't mean much when you've got 2 people telling conflicting stories and they've both supposedly passed lie detector tests. Now, I'd believe in Roger Patterson's because there was big money at stake, a lot more than I'd believe in the one that Fox TV supposedly gave to Bob, and that he supposedly passed as they so claimed. And as we're going along here, keep on noticing the difference between her body and human bodies. And you're going to see a comparison between her and a gorilla body later as well. But continuing on with the costumes, this is one from the $6 Million Man. Look at how awful that is. Look in the crotch area. You can't see any muscle definition on this thing. This is actually after the Patterson Gimlin film came out, I believe, or sometime maybe around there. Regardless, it is awful compared to her. It doesn't look anything real at all. And here again is Bob, and he's cheating using modern materials, and yet he looks like crap. It doesn't look anything like her. But look at the difference in the way his body is proportioned and shaped compared to hers, because that's important. And it would also look at the difference between how his body is shaped and proportion compared to a gorilla's, or think about that difference. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now, Patty has what are non-human body ratios. So a gorilla cannot fit into a costume that is of Patty's body, of a Sasquatch body ratios. A Sasquatch cannot fit into a costume that is of a real gorilla's body ratios. Not even close. Neither can a human fit into a Sasquatch, into a costume of the true dimensions of a Sasquatch. And vice versa, a Sasquatch could not wear a human costume that was of the same dimensions. This guy where you're seeing right here, he was a very famous Hollywood actor that acted in all kinds of monster movies back in the day. He also said when he saw the film that there's no way that it's a costume. Here's comparisons of several of the most famous costumes that we've ever seen, and they're all just crap again. So I've already covered that for the most part, but I just wanted to get some more looks at just how impossible it is that Patty is a costume and or makeup. It's not possible. We couldn't do it today. We certainly couldn't do it in 1967. Here's another comparison with a crappy costume that someone tried to hoax off as a genuine photograph. But again, we now can measure what we call the pDNA, which is proportional DNA of the subjects in moving films. They've got to be in moving films, because if it's just a photograph, it could be a statue or something. But if it's a moving film and some people are claiming that that's a person in a costume, well, that can't be so if the joints are in the wrong place, the elbows, the knees, the hips. Now here's a good example. Look at the difference between a Sasquatch and a gorilla. That gorilla could not fit into a costume of a Sasquatch's true body proportions, and Patty could not fit into a costume of the gorilla's true body proportions. The limbs are different lengths, and the joints would be in different places. In order to fit in such costumes, you must be able to line the joints up. And every Hollywood creature that has ever been a human in a costume, you can measure the pDNA, and it will come out human, including Chewbacca and Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. They have normal human body proportions. Patty, however, doesn't. And guess who else doesn't? Well, the subjects from about 5, 6, 7 different films that were filmed in different places in North America by different people over 5, 6 decades time who didn't know each other before the internet, and even in some from the Eurasian continent. And they all have the same body proportions as Patty, which are all human body proportions. So that's your proof right there, not only that Patty was genuine, but that there's a genuine species or set of related subspecies out there that all have the same body proportions, and that's proof that the species exists. I'm sorry if that's not enough for you, but that is just simply the shut case on the matter. You cannot argue around that. Anybody can make the measurements themselves. They're scientifically reproducible measurements. They are not humans in costumes and makeup. It's not possible. We're getting close to the end of the images and the video here. I just want you to really think about this, and again, just take a look with your eyes at Patty and think about, does that tell me biologically real or not? And so finally, and in conclusion here, I want to just give some credit to a video and audio analyst named Thinker Thunker, who is the one who came up with the proportional DNA system to measure body ratios and to prove once and for all that certain subjects captured on film and video over the years cannot be humans in costumes, and not only that, but they match each other's proportional DNA, and so they therefore are from the same species or similar subspecies. Thinker Thunker, it costs $1 or something like that a month to view some of his videos because they demonetized him a long time ago for telling the truth, but it's well worth the money. And he also proves using audio recordings that these creatures exist. And yes, that can be done. And he's very good at this kind of stuff. And so I would check him out and definitely go ahead and purchase that $1 a month membership. Give him as much likes and comments and love as you can because he does a great job. Everyone makes mistakes here and there, and he's had a couple that people like to really harp on, but he corrects them and he's very good. So check him out.